Now, this pencil is a 6B, okay? The way the pencil scale goes is it's HB in the middle, and then these pencils are softer going this way and lighter going this way. So you would have a 2H would be even lighter, and the lid is harder, softer and darker. And the higher the number, the lighter and harder the graphite. The higher the number with the B, the softer and darker, because more graphite will come off onto the paper when it's softer. So I'm going to use the 6B that I happen to have just to put a little more on here. See if I can't get it just a little darker. You guys can use whatever you have. If you don't have a 6B, that's fine. Later on, if you don't already have them now, everybody should be getting a set of drawing pencils. So, see, that got a whole lot darker. And now I'm really pushing down even with it. Just want to be careful to still go in this kind of, even though I may go back and forth a little bit on the edges, I want to make sure in general, mostly what I'm doing on this will be those random circles, and that it's an even value. Okay. So now you can see it turns kind of shiny. You can see where I got out of the lines. I'm going to go back and touch that up. I've got this magnified where you can see it a little bit better. And so then I could leave it, or if I want to go in, I can take my blending stump or my Q-tip or tissue. You do not want to use your fingers because the oil from your hands can mess up your drawings. And the acids in your skin. You can still see, I'm looking back and forth in between my paper here and on screen, and on screen I can sure see any kind of little divots better with it all blown up. Okay, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go on to the middle one now. I'm going to use a 2B, which is basically the same as a number 2, well, this number 2 pencil, I thought, excuse me, an HB is the same as a number 2 pencil. A 2B is going to be a little bit darker than that. Let's just go with the regular HB for number 3. Need to check it. I could go ahead and sharpen, but I think I'm going to go with it like it is for right now. And remember, we're starting off soft, very little pressure, and random circles to make sure we have that blended. We're not doing hatching. A lot of people are shown how to use the side of their pencil, and some people call it blending when they go in lines back and forth. That's not really blended. Blended is where you're going in the little circles, the random circles. Nothing is wrong with either one. We will be using all of them. And usually when you do a drawing, you use all of them. Use many different methods. Okay. So, I'm going to go ahead and use my blending stuff. Let's see if I can get this. So my paper has a pretty good bit of tooth. It's actually a watercolor paper and not a drawing paper that I'm doing this on. My main concern is that when we are drawing, you want different people have a tendency to like different types of paper, but you do want to make sure that you do not use regular notebook paper unless there's some kind of major reason behind it. And I don't think at this point there would be any thing that we're trying to do that would constitute using regular notebook paper. Okay, so now I noticed something on this. I noticed that here is darker, here is darker, and here is darker. Okay, there are a couple different things I could do. I could go over it more if I thought that was the right thing to do. I don't. This is a kneaded eraser. You pull it to get it clean. You don't rub it back and forth like you do this one. This one, I could run over the top of something and get some off. This one, I just press and pick up to remove some of that value. And then now I still have some spots that are lighter, so I'm going to go back in on those lighter spots. And let me see if I can't blend that in. And the same thing goes when you're using the blender, remember, is that you don't want to go back and forth too much. You can do a little bit when you're doing inside of here, but you want to do kind of random and try to get everything blended in. You're also going to go back and try to clean up edges the best you can. I'm not worried about my tick marks as much as I am the edges of my square. Okay, so now I've got what you would consider my lightest, my darkest, and my medium. Okay, so this is going to be its darkest, medium, lightest. So this is going to be a light medium, and this is going to be a dark medium. Okay, and so I can choose to do either one of these next. Main thing is I want to make sure there is a small jump, that they don't look exactly the same. I can go in, I can look and use this grayscale finder, this value finder, the store-bought one. And now I can see the dart that I did is darker than this one. Not quite as dark as the darkest one. It's getting there. But I'd say it's more closely related to this one. And maybe if I had an 8B, which I don't, okay, I used on that, what was it, 6B, I believe. Yeah, I used a 6B when I was doing that. And here, I used an HB doing this one. Okay. Now, so I can go back, and now you don't have to write your notes the same as I am. I'm just writing them down where there's things that you will know. However, if you are using different pencils, it is good a lot of times to label them. So, in between an HB and a 6B pencils that I happen to have a 2B and I have a 4B. Because I don't want to go dark too fast, I think I'm going to very, very lightly use this 4B and hope that I don't go too dark too fast. I'm also going to put a piece of card or something. I'm not running into this one as much. Make it a little easier. Now I do hold my hand a little strange, but I'm still getting this part of the lid as much as possible onto this paper. And if I were doing a much larger piece, I'd probably move my hand out a lot more. But these are fairly small little squares. Well, I think I'm going to try to blend. Try not to take too long on this for you guys. But you do want to see a jump. a definite end to this darkness, to this one, to this one. And I could have used a 2B here and done more layers. Okay. But I used a 4B and did less layers. So now, so that before it was this one, and let's see, now I've gone to here, so I don't want to make too big a jumps. Let's see. So we're skipping about one in between, and this has got 10 on it, so it seems like it's going to turn out about right. Let's see, is this one about here? I don't know. Kind of seems more there. Let's go ahead and I'm going to do I very seldom use an H pencil, and a 2H is about as light as I would get. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the 2H right here in this spot where I'm trying to get my light medium. And if you use the tip of a hard pencil, it can actually make indentions in your paper that when if you try to go back and erase and then shade with something else, it'll have like a white line. Sometimes an H pencil can be kind of hard to work with. Feels scratchy. Okay, let me see if I can blend. I may have to go back in and lift some of that off. Now if I were using this type of eraser, I can go back in and just kind of drag over lightly, kind of almost like petting. Since I have this one, it's kneaded eraser. I'm gonna use it right there. Somehow I got a really dark spot right there. Ooh, I picked up the wrong pencil. I picked up a 6B. And these, I can use a piece of sandpaper or an emery board and I sand them back to clean. You can even use the graphite that's on them sometimes to shade with. But you'll see you have the different values. And what you probably want to do at this point where you can use this, okay, remember which ones I did first, second, and third. That's where I can make sure that I get those jumps and that they're not so close in color. And I could go back and work on this a little bit more and get my lines a little better. Okay. But you want to be really, really neat. Okay. And then what we will do to be able to use them is when you're trying to get things different shades, if you cut the edge of it out, you'll be able to use it to, I don't have a pair of scissors in front of me, but if you'll cut the edge out, you'll be able to hold it up against something you're drawing and to make sure that you are using the wide range, that you do have some of your areas that are going to be your darkest areas are your darkest, that your lightest are your lightest, mediums are medium, okay? And see, that's about that one. So, could have done it where I do the whole scale. It'll take much longer, take a little bit more time. But this is your value scale, and it should be extremely neat. You can go ahead and cut it out if you want to. If you do cut it out, you should maybe leave more on one side than the other, and you want to have some other type of paper that you fold over it to keep it where it won't smudge on other things or smudge off. If I cut this out, I'd probably put it in between another piece of paper to keep it in. Okay, and that's pretty much that for your value scale.